Go.
Call the meeting to order as Liz told me to.
I have to give Tim Sanders a hug.
Disregard that from the record.
No, it can be on the record.
Because the fan is so loud, the microphone will be required use this evening, or I don't think anyone will be heard. So we'll start with welcomes and introductions. Welcome. So we'll just go around the table and everyone introduce themselves. Liz, you have a mic. Could you do the Oprah thing?
Oh, hi, sorry.
How are you?
Welcome.
The dog's amazing.
Juan Veloz de Heredia y Swansea.
Can we really, do we have to survive this fan?
Good afternoon, I'm Tim Sanders from the North Denver Cornerstone Flat.
Patricia Carmody with the Colorado Watershed Assembly.
Larry Burgess, property owner on Brian Boulevard.
Drew Dutcher, variance Swansea Neighborhood Association.
I'm still writing letters.
Jim Garcia with Clinic Pepe.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Halra. I am with the National Western Center Office for the City, and I'm filling in for Kelly Lee tonight.
Hello, Julia Spalding-Dingos with the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, sitting in for Liz Davis, who is sitting in for Nancy Walsh.
Hi, Keela Birdsong with the Grow House.
Drew already had, no.
I did.
Drew already did it. We need the people,
Again.
we need the people back there.
What?
The people back there. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jordan Turbach, I work at Davis Partnership Architects.
I'm Danny Miller. I work at U.S. Green Building Council.
Jay Rankin with MIT.
Eric Chaplin, Office of the National Western Center.
David Richards, Office National Western Center.
Peter Berg, also with the Office of the National Western Center.
Jeff Conant with the Office of the National Western Center as well.
Hi, nice to meet you, Paula.
Pete Cates with the City of Denver Environmental Health Department.
Hi, I'm Tiana Nelson. I'm with Colorado State University. Jean Chrysler with Formworks Design Group.
Nancy Grandis-Jones with JJJ Properties and Globeville Civic Partners.
I'm Karen Pendicard with National Western.
I'm Andrew Ross with Denver Environmental Health.
Paul Andrews, National Western Stock Show.
Liz Adams, CRL Associates.
Thank you everyone for being here again. Truly appreciate it. I'm Terrence Carroll, that's Maria Garcia Berry, and we're your hosts this evening. We'll start with
We'll go live Saturday night.
playing the role of Melissa McCarthy this evening will be me. We'll have our partner update starting with Gretchen Halra.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Shall we turn down the, can we turn off the fan?
You can turn it off. It's going to get hot in here, though. I'm just warning you.
Well, that may speed the meeting, right?
What's that?
See, that you can't hear us. Can we turn the fan, oh, can we turn the,
Beyond, the speakers up is beyond me, but maybe somebody else.
but can we, the fan,
I can go kill the fan, yeah.
no, can we turn down the power of the fan? Or
Yeah, I'm told it's either on and it's on, or it's off and it's off.
that's why we need new facilities.
Here, here.
No, we'll just turn the fan off.
Fan off?
Yeah.
All right. Might take me a minute to figure out which breaker it is over here. If I shut everything off.
So the NWC-CAC have a Mr.
Yeah. Pause for technical difficulties.
Yeah, we'll just, sit here and talk. Look at each
Try
other.
it now and see if it's a little louder.
Is this louder?
Yeah, can you hear okay?
Should I get started?
Yeah, get it.
Okay.
Go.
Happy to be here tonight. I'm filling in for Kelly, and our office has got a couple of the presentations on. So just to point to those, Jeff Mack and David Richards, sitting in the back, are going to talk through the early site work and preparation for Brighton Boulevard Segment 3 construction. And then Jay Rinkins and Eric Schafran are here to, they've been here in the past to talk about placemaking. Wanted to comment on a couple of things that we have been to lately. Paul's out of the room, but I wanted to congratulate him on a great county fair. And the National Western Center office was there, as many of us were. It was a pretty neat event. We also had a couple of other big city events, State of the City announcement. I know that Tim and his team will probably talk about some of the community events that they've been working on. I also wanted to give an opportunity for Danny with U.S. Green Building Council and Jordan to talk about an event that's going to happen on August 15th, where 3 CAC members are going to be on that panel. So that's Ann Hayes, Kelly, and Jocelyn.
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, sorry that my ears look. So U.S. Green Building Council hosts a large event every year called the Commercial Real Estate Forum that focuses on an upcoming neighborhood that's an opportunity for development for our community. And this year we're focusing on the National Western Center in North Denver. Our event will be on Tuesday, August 15th. From 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. at the CSU Denver Center in downtown Denver at 17th and Glenarm. And as Gretchen mentioned, Kelly, Ann, and Jocelyn will all be on the panel, as well as David Zucker from Zocalo Development, who's slated to build homes in the Elyria Swansea neighborhood. And Mike Baselli will be moderating. So I passed along a coupon code and the event link to Liz, who will email that out in the minutes. But it's a 50% off coupon code, so I hope you all can make it.
Thank you. In addition to the agenda items, just 2 quick announcements from our office tonight. Wanted to follow up on campus branding. And we are continuing to work on that. We appreciated being able to share that here with this group. But the marketing team will be reviewing brand expressions, platforming, and that's one of the next steps that helps them identify how to use the brand. So what we are anticipating is that we think we'll be back to talk to you all about that in September, but we'll have more information on that in the next couple of weeks and then coordinate that through the CAC schedule. With that, we also have launched several social media sites, and I have to give thanks to Erica and team for that. So there's Facebook, National Western Center, Instagram, also National Western Center, and Twitter, Discover the West. So those are opportunities to go online and find out about the campus. It's also a way for us to start looking at, we're going to have a lot of information that needs to be pushed out to different groups, and this is a way for us to continue to reach out to folks. So if you have other thoughts about how we can be in touch with people, it's just going to be a lot of information, and the more ways we have to share it, the better. Last, wanted to touch on the framework agreement, which is a contract that the city has been developing language for with our partners, CSU and the Western Stock Show Association. It's a complex document to bring together for the first time because we have 3 entities with separate business practices and also 2 public entities, the city and the state. And it's a merger of a lot of how our systems work on it's got many different areas of detail in it, all the way from how we want to talk about a future authority. Thank you, Paul. To how we deal with things like sponsorships. And there are a lot of rules that each of these entities have, particularly in the public sector. So how do we create a common platform to bring this forward? As we get that assembled, our first stop then is back here with you all. And one of the things we want to do is have a special session with the CAC to walk through that document before it becomes part of the general public. And right now, according to our time frame, we were hoping to get some dates from you all that might work, aiming for the week of August 7th, I think, Maria, and to try to leave this meeting tonight with some idea about what would be the best what would be the best day and time to come and talk to you about that document and walk you through it. It's a big and complex set of pages. It's actually a couple of different documents to get these entities to make the right connection to one another. Legally, it is a legal document. It will go through a city council and public process, but we wanted to bring it here first. So Maria and Liz and Terrence, I guess I'll leave that back with you to help us convene what date works best. And we'll have representatives from all three of those parties. The two other MOU partners, History Colorado and the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, are not signatories to that because they are not part of the funding contract. But I would love for them to be here too. If you could pass that on to Nancy, and I'll pass that on to Steve at History Colorado, that it really is it's the realization of all of the work we've been doing over the last couple of years to move this into a more formal space. And there's a lot to talk about there. So I hope that a special meeting can work, and then we'll look at other ways to outreach and spend time with you on that document, because likely one meeting won't be enough.
Let's wait. Yep, AE's got a question.
Yeah, is this a place where there's an intersection with Denver Urban Renewal Authority and the group that was hired to do the fiduciary stuff?
So there is a role that Denver Urban Renewal Authority, DURA, is playing. They are the financing entity on the Regional Tourism Act funds, and that was a required role to fill by the state when the project was awarded that state sales tax increment. So we do have, there's a special set of requirements around the collection and distribution of those funds over 36 years. And the first reporting on that starts in about a week.
Okay. So they don't help, that's not something that's mostly the lawyers and this and that develops that. That's not the consultant and the agent, the administrator.
The framework agreement is a contract that has all of the legal terms in it between these three entities and trying to get the terms to match. The RTA funds is really a reporting effort, and the state has essentially guardrails on the use of the funds and certain requirements of the project, because the funding is derived from new state sales tax, and we have to build the facilities that will create that revenue flow coming in. So it is a completely separate thing, but I'm happy to walk through either of those in detail if folks want to see it.
Any other questions for Gretchen? Okay, we'll go on to Paul with an update from the WSSA.
Yes, coming off a very successful Denver County Fair. Hope many of you got to enjoy the fair this year. We had a great time. Over 17,000 people attended in 3 days, so we feel very good about that number and look to grow it next year. We're obviously working on the National Western Stock Show for 2018. That would be our primary responsibility right now, and that and completing the framework agreement that Gretchen spent the last few moments speaking about. So that is what we are working on, and getting ready to do the capital campaign fundraising once the framework agreement is signed. So we will then be unleashing ourselves on the public to raise the $50 million necessary to transmit into this project. So that is all we have going.
Any questions for Paul? Okay, we'll move on to CSU. We have Tiana Nelson joining us tonight in lieu of Jocelyn.
Hi everyone, I'm Tiana Nelson. I work in communications at CSU, so just filling in for Jocelyn this evening. So our quick updates for the evening are CSU Water Fellows. We have 6 students from CSU who are participating, and then 6 high school students from Bruce Randolph School who are working to put together a youth water summit. That will be September 23rd, and we're really excited about that. It will be a great way to engage and educate kids in Denver and get them started. We're starting to mirror a lot of the programming that we might see at the National Western Center. So it's a really exciting thing coming on board. And you might be hearing from some of the students, they're looking for some community outreach and support. So just keep that in mind and be open to that as you hear from them. And it will be hosted here at the National Western Complex. We also had a big presence at the Denver County Fair. Our extension offices and 4-H were involved and hosted several workshops and had a presence with booths and things like that. So we had great feedback from them. They had a really nice interaction throughout the weekend, so nice job to the team who worked on that. And also kind of in line, we are submitting our annual report to the state next week. That's a requirement of House Bill 1344. And so also working on the framework agreement with Western Stock Show Association and the city. We're also looking forward to Clinica Tapiac's Adelante 5K with Jim on August 6th, correct? Okay, good. And Community Fair. So we'll be there. Our CSU Triathlon team will be there as well, so we can go out and try to beat them, which will be kind of fun. And we're excited, so we encourage all of you guys to come and join us. And then another update is just that we'll be doing another pet clinic. We've been doing this now, I think this is the 4th year at Focus Points. So that will be in October, and more information will be coming out with that soon, so keep an eye out. And I think that's it. Any questions?
No questions.
Great.
We'll go on to DMNS.
Hello, can everyone hear me? I'm Julia Spalding-Nichols, Manager of Adult and Children's Programs at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. And I'm sitting in for Liz Davis, who I believe came last month or 12 months ago for Nancy Walsh. Both are out of town right now. The update I have was just that Vikings, our current temporary exhibit, closes just in a couple of weeks on August 13th. We still have Nature's Amazing Machines, which is free with museum admission through January 1st, and then in October we open Ultimate Dinosaurs.
Is Viking still on?
It's August 13th.
August 13th. Got it.
I have to hit that. I haven't done that yet.
Not sure we have History Colorado.
I don't see History Colorado. Their history this evening. Okay. NDCC, Tim Sandos.
Well, hello, and first, congratulations on the fair to the National Western Stock Show. We came this weekend, had a great time. It was a fabulous weekend.
Did you do goat yoga?
I didn't get to do that. No, I watched with intent. I thought it was great.
Hey, it's sold out.
Again, congratulations. What we're going to report on today is the 2017 general obligation bonds that have been moving through council and through the city's community process. We're in the final phase before the ballot initiative in November, and the mayor's recommended a list that's currently being reviewed by the city council. The next steps will be August 7th, an hour-long public hearing. August 14th will be the final votes from the council, and the November 17th ballot then will be the next spot. So on the screen you're looking at, the arrow really points to where we're at. The city has, as we've done before, used a very broad community process to look at all of the initiatives that were being presented, and then we're able to take those, move them through, and make some very difficult decisions on what needed to happen for the betterment of the city at large. This next slide gives you kind of a summary of the amount of input that went back to the Global Elyria Swansea neighborhood plans for what we submitted from NDCC to the Denver bond election. Started with the work in the neighborhood plans in 2014, 2015, and all of the inputs that we submitted were based on the community input and the projects that have been identified by all of our community processes. We had added all of those to the Elevate 2020 program, which is the city's 6-year capital improvement plan, and we continue to collect input based on our regular community feedback. The budget office is who has conducted the citywide meetings for this year's 2017 general obligation bond package, and they again have sought regular community feedback. There was one of the sessions that was actually held here in GES as they went through the process. Here is a summary of the 3 major buckets that will be before all the voters in the GO package. The 3 buckets are transportation and mobility, parks and recreation, and facilities. And I've listed here for you 18 different projects that we had submitted from NDCC on behalf of the Global Elyria Swansea neighborhoods, and again representing the community plans and all of the community input that we had. I can't remember the total dollar amount that we submitted. I know it was in excess of $150,000. We surely didn't expect to get it all, but we sure wanted to put everything before the committees. And the way the committees worked is they asked us not to prioritize anything, but give them everything in the same format so that they would be able to go through, review them, and then make decisions based on what they collectively thought was in the greater good for the city. Yes?
Well, right there on that 4400 infrastructure facility, can you elaborate on what the city has in mind for 4400 infrastructure?
Well, what we were looking at is being able to renovate that building and bring it up to speed to be able to have other uses for the community. And that's still our intention. And that's what we had submitted. Unfortunately, as I move to the next page, that was not one of the items that made it to the bond election. But again, it is in our 2020 capital improvements plan. The idea is to, again, renovate it for community uses, perhaps to be able to use for education, job training. There are a variety of uses that we're looking at.
I understand that, but from your statement right there, my understanding that no funds have been allocated to that building. Right now, what you're just telling me, it's just a wish list. There's nothing there for that building to be able to serve the community. Other than it's a wish list, it's there, big deal.
Yeah, and you may call it a wish list. Indeed, it probably is to an extent. These are all the things that were presented to us from the community about what we want to be able to do. And we had submitted in good faith wanting to get it funded. We just weren't able to accomplish that in this cycle.
Okay, I understand that, but there's no plan. From my perspective, there's no plan there. Okay, we didn't get the funds for whatever reason. So what's the alternative? Is there one? I'm not trying. I mean, and forgive me. I'm not trying to pick on you.
Oh, no.
I'm just thinking out loud in terms of being able from GES and the community. That building's there. We've been trying to serve it. OED's been on it. It's there. It's a nice building. It has multiple purposes. From my perspective, they can have a big landmark here and be able to serve the community in a meaningful way.
And that is indeed where we would like to go. I don't have a good answer for you right now about what the alternative use would be. Let me try to put something together that we can bring back that makes more sense to give you at least what the thoughts are and where we would like to go. And we'd be happy to do that.
Well, I have thoughts, and I think I know where the decision goes.
Great, then if you and I can get together afterward, maybe you can share some of
It
this.
doesn't include, the city wants to sell that building without keeping the community involved. And that's not where it should be. That building should be to serve the community.
And that's our intention. We have no intention of selling the building at this stage, and there's not been any movement towards trying to sell it. We really do want to maintain the building in the community and use it for community purposes. So unless there's any other questions about it, I'd love to get together with you and talk to you in more detail afterward. Thank you. So this reflects the projects that were recommended by Mayor Hancock. There's a total of just under $70 million, $20 million in parks, $50 million in mobility. The transportation and mobility section was the largest section, both for the Global Elyria Swansea area and for the overall bond projects that were presented by Mayor Hancock's office. We think this is really exciting news, especially for the communities and the work that you had done to bring these forward in your neighborhood plans and additional work, and we're going to continue to work on those. These should be completed within 2 years of completing the adopted plans, and we have an opportunity to secure funding for other buildings, other projects, as you just pointed out, that we'll continue to be working on over the next few years. I'd be happy to answer any of the questions if you have.
AE? I'd just like to invite you to find the plan that was written in OED on the 4400 Lincoln building that Seneca was, there was a facilitated meeting with a real good mix of people from the neighborhoods that was, and during that meeting, this was, I can't remember the date, but it's been over a year, I think. Debbie Ortega did bring up the hope that it would be on the GEO-bond, and then I think some things happened where it lost momentum because OED lost its leadership. I think Paul Washington left, Seneca left. But there is a good sort of a strategic plan that is certainly still wide open for changes. But I do feel like that was a gesture of commitment that you could brief yourself on. If you could find that and bring it forward, and we could start following up on that. And I know that Ortega and Brooks are saying that they're talking about trying to leverage more things. So in support of that concern, I think that would be excellent.
I'm going to do that, be happy to do it. Let me tell you that I have briefly talked with Councilwoman Ortega about 44th and Lincoln and what we could do. We had planned to have another longer discussion, I believe that included that. And then when it did not move through on the project, we've been focusing on a couple other things, but it's not that we're going to forget it at all. I wish I knew more about it, quite honestly. I've been on the job for about 4 weeks now.
Absolutely no criticism with that. No one expects you to do a vocal mind meld with the whole city of Denver, I don't think. But I think that there's a little bit more than a wish list. I think there's a start of a strategy, which I think is the important issue that was raised, to really make a commitment to that somehow.
Yes. So I will definitely follow up on that, and I'll come back next month with a little bit more information about that in specifics. Some other hand in the back.
Well, two things. One thing about 4400 Lincoln. I read with interest the Jumpstart 2017, and 4400 Lincoln was highlighted. That comes from OED. And then from Debbie Ortega's office, it says OED has contracted with a firm to complete an assessment of the building, and this should be done in August. Once we have that info, we'll know the feasibility of repurposing the building. So anyway, that. But I do have a question about the connectivity part, the $16.7 million under transportation there. There is Globeville, Valeria Swansea pedestrian connectivity improvements. Yes. Can we get a list or the work plan that's involved in that $17 million so that we know specifically what and where is going to be done in GES?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, let me get a copy of that. I'll give it to Amy and ask her to distribute to the entire CAC. It is broken down, it gets pretty detailed, but rest assured that all of the projects that got in there came out of the community plans for Globeville, Elyria, and Swansea. And we tried to do as much as we could in the packages that we were allowed. Again, those were selected out by the groups who worked on them, but I'll be happy to share that with you. Any other questions? Okay, you're good to give me so much time. Thank you very much. And just on a personal note, this is the last day of my 50s. I turn 60 tomorrow.
No.
So this is the last day of my youth. I need the love.
You need to recognize her.
Vern.
I was the last CAC meeting. I asked the National Western Citizens Advisory Committee to possibly do a letter of support from the committee pertaining to the Washington Street Development Project specifically. And I did put a letter together in reference to that. They're passing along copies of it as I speak. This is basically a draft, and I'd like everyone to maybe take a look at it to see if we can embellish it even a little bit more to make it more attractive to City Council. Again, I'm in, as most of you know, I'm in support of the Washington Street project.
There's a lot of things that I feel can benefit the GES neighborhoods through this project. Employment opportunities, infrastructure work that is so badly needed throughout that area. Private investment that would come from this project once the infrastructure is put in. And we have a fairly decent looking area down there. It should attract private investment throughout that area to allow us to get some of the things that for the last 25 years we've been asking to get. Grocery stores, pharmacies, places where the community can walk to be able to shop and do things of that nature. So there was a little bit of a concern through some statements made at City Council that this was specifically for the National Western, and for the most part it is partially for the National Western, but I do feel that the community can also benefit through this project. If anybody has been down on Washington Street during rush hour or during the times to try to get through there, I think it speaks for itself on how badly needed this project is in that area. If anything, I feel that Washington Street has probably more traffic than Brighton Boulevard at this time. So anyway, please look at the letter, and I would respectfully request your support in getting this letter out to City Council on this issue. Thank you.
True.
Thanks very much for that and for writing this letter. I understand you authored this, or I agree that Washington Street is very important, but I would like somebody to just tell us what is the state of the design right now. As I remember, we don't really have a street section of it, and as I remember, we are trying to have everything. We are trying to have parking, amenity zones, bike lanes, and basically I think one of the challenges is Washington Street is basically a truck route. I mean, you have the storage facilities at one end of the county and then I-70 at the other, so it's going to be pretty hard to make work. And so there's a lot of challenges on it, but I guess where I'm going is we don't even have it designed. I mean, it's not really even, I mean, I support the effort to make it right, but I think the real challenges have come in the design of it and how we're going to accommodate that and make it something more than just a truck route.
I absolutely agree with that. And at this point, I am on the design committee for Washington Street. We are in I don't know exactly the date, but we're going to have an open house in reference to what we have achieved to identify the issues of putting this project together. And we're going to present those. And we do invite the community to attend these meetings to give us input on what they feel is going to work the best. We have gotten funding to pretty much get through, at this point, 30% of the design. And so we're just moving ahead in reference to getting this done. Being down on Washington Street on a daily basis, okay, I don't disagree with you that there is a certain amount of truck route. But if you were there in rush hour, it's not all trucks. There's a lot of traffic coming through from downtown Denver through there. If there are any accidents or anything on I-25 going north, it's the main thoroughfare through this area. The type of traffic that comes through there, I think, could be great for businesses. And also, by the 3 o'clock, 3:30 during the day, all right, the truck traffic usually at that point has died down. Our truck traffic for that area runs from about 4:30 in the morning to about, say, 3 to 3:30 in the afternoon. At that point, then that complete area down there could be turned over to the neighborhoods and things of that nature. And that's not so much different from what you have on Brighton Boulevard. Brighton Boulevard will be servicing downtown Denver. That is not going to stop. During the day, you're going to have the same type of traffic issues with trucks and things going down into downtown to service downtown Denver. But then, after a certain period of time, then that kind of turns to a different type of situation, to where you're going to have the people coming out. You're going to have the people going to the restaurants, going to the bars. This is what our vision is for the Washington Street situation as well. Not that we won't want bars down here, but I'm just saying that this is the kind of thing that we're looking forward to, so that the community can get together. And we're not just talking about the people of Globeville. Elaria, Swansea, Globeville, all of us can sit down together and look for a vision of what needs to take place on Washington Street. And we're going to do that vision before we build it, not after we build it.
Councilman Brooks.
I just want to say amen and to what Vern just said, and Drew, I actually think, and Brighton was actually done like this. The mayor secured the money for Brighton, and then the design happened with the community. And I think it's better when the design happens afterwards. So we have a lot of support to complete it up to 30% design, and that's why I got on the list, and we have a lot of people pushing, that's why I got on the list. I'm a little nervous that we have members of council who are saying that the community doesn't support it, because I haven't seen any of those members of council at the meetings and things like that. And so I wanted to alert folks who are on Washington, that are on Washington Street and who have been to the meetings, that we have members saying this. And so it's, you know, send this letter in so that they know that the community is supporting this. And the second thing I say is there's missing sidewalks on Washington. And this is a great way for us to have pedestrian access, which is incredibly important. So thank you, Vern, for putting this together, and thank you for serving on the committee as well.
Okay, Armando, then AE.
Just a real quick comment. I'd like to see Vern bring a presentation to this National Western Star Trail Citizens Advisory Council on the traffic studies that have been done and provided with community input, providing that information, showing us, demonstrating to us the traffic studies that have been provided for Washington Street, especially how it impacts the neighborhood. And what I'm referencing is 45th Avenue and 47th. Those trucks often come down those neighborhoods. There's kids playing out there. You got semis going back and forth. There's a school out there. To me, it's fatal. But again, I welcome you to bring those statistics and demonstrate those to this CAC, and let's go from there. Thank you.
AE. And then back to Vern.
I would just like to comment on that too. You know, this is why I'm reaching out, and the committee is reaching out on the Washington Street design to the people of the community, including yourself. So I would also offer that you come to some of the meetings that we're having there, okay, to give us your input in reference to the designs, and to, you know, more or less let us know what your feelings are on that. And as far as getting you the traffic studies, that's no problem. But as a part of the design conversations that we've had, some of that has been making sure that we keep truck traffic out of the actual neighborhoods themselves.
So does that mean you're going to bring it next month?
Yeah.
As I understand it, and Albus, you might remember this, I don't know. I think that that there is a traffic study being ordered by the Washington Street project right now, and at the last, so that per se will not be available next month, but I'm also on the work group with Vern. At the last meeting, we requested that all of the traffic studies be brought to the table, and that be coordinated, because there's these regional traffic studies, there's the NWC traffic study, so I think that's going to be an open book, but there's a special request that parking and displaced traffic from the NWC not overwhelm Globeville, and also that the wayfaring, is that what it's called, or the wayfinding? I always go to C on that one. That the wayfinding be powered up, and I've got a flyer here that the meeting is August 5th, the next public meeting is August 15th. It's a save that date flyer. Is August 15th, 5:30 to 7:30, Garden Place Academy is an open house on the Washington Street study. So if you can save that date, and it may or may not change. What's the project in Public Works? Karen, what's her name? Karen Good. She's a good person to contact. Is Karen Good to get on her list to be updated? And lastly, the carryover from the neighborhood plans and the discussion of the streets involves a lot of things like there was one really great planning meeting. I think some people were there. You might remember it. I loved it myself, where we actually had, it was like putting together puzzles. Remember where we were doing the different lanes, medians, and how can, the basic statement that has come up again and again in these conversations is how can the traffic going through that area be encouraged to stop, and how can the people from all around the interior of the neighborhood feel safe and comfortable to walk over there and engage with the businesses and have things that are not only destination for people coming through, so it's not a corridor in the sense of to go through, but that I'd rather call it a boulevard or something, frankly, than a corridor, to have people stop and shop and be there and hang out. So there's a lot of really good conversation carrying forward from the neighborhood plan about how can this become a neighborhood-friendly area, not just a route for traffic. And there are many people out in the neighborhoods that happened again on Grant and East 45th yesterday taking pictures of trucks that are going through where they're not supposed to. They're ignoring the signs. This was I won't name the company. And we're stopping them. We're talking to the drivers. Point the signs out to them. We have to have enforcement because we did put up some way of finding signs during the neighborhood planning process to help with that. So I think there's some really positive progress and we need to be vigilant.
Can you send that out to everybody?
Say what again?
Forward that email to the
Oh, I wrote
Sure.
it down.
You have that?
Yep,
Okay,
got it.
good.
Wrote it down already.
Any other, Armando?
Are you on the community reports part?
No, we just moved up since Tim talked about the geo bonds. We moved up.
Community reports, I just got a comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the letter?
Do we have consensus? Okay.
When does this have to be finished? Is
Soon.
it now? Or?
We have first reading on the 7th. And we'll have a public hearing on the 7th too, so it'd be nice to have something before then. That's August 7th, 5:30.
Is everybody okay with the concept of it? We can't really dilly-dally with drafting right now.
I think I would endorse it, except for it's the NWC-CAC. We're kind of slipping back on the brand.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get that fixed.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, okay, we'll move ahead and
You should ask for a clear consensus.
any objections? It's probably the easier way to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward.
Okay.
So we're going on to, are we back on the regular agenda now?
Yes.
We are.
Okay. Early site work update.
Jeff Mack.
Jeff Mack.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay with this microphone. Is that going to be okay? So I'm going to present, both David Richards and I will present here tonight a little bit of the early site work that we have coming up on the project. And so it is an exciting time. This is another series of meetings that we have had in some of the neighborhood groups, and this is the first of many other comms efforts that we'll be putting forward, other communications, and the types of work that we'll be doing to make sure that everybody's aware of the projects that are going on. So again, my name is Jeff Mack. I'm the vertical portfolio manager for National Western Center, and that means the new facilities, whether they're going up, I guess, or coming down. And so those fall under my direction. David Richards is our project manager, and he will actually be managing some of this early site work. And then in the back of the room, I did want to introduce as well Pete Cates. Pete is with the Department of Environmental Health. And so we're working hand in hand with Pete and DEH to make sure that everything that we're doing with regard to these projects is done safely, to abate any of any hazardous materials that are either in the buildings or on the site prior to the demolition. So taking the right steps, and we'll lead you through that process. David's going to lead you through that process as we go through that. I did want to just highlight, though, here on the slide that is shown. So some of this early work that is going to be done does pave or clear the path for the Brighton Boulevard improvements that will start right after the stock show in early 2018. And so we have several sites there along Brighton that will need to be prepared for that construction. And so the Brighton Boulevard project actually extends, and the part that we're doing is from 47th all the way to Race Court. And that's shown by the yellow indicator there, the arterial that's shown on that. And then the early work that we're talking about is within that orange bubble that you see there on the screen. And so it's primarily the properties right there along Brighton Boulevard. And so we'll be starting some of that, some of the early abatement work. As I said, you won't see much from a demolition standpoint until we actually have the building safe and ready to take down, and that'll start in August. And then we'll follow that right on with the clearing of the sites after that. So what is early site work? It's really these types of things that we're doing. As I said, we've done some of these early assessments, and those continue. As we obtain the properties, we are doing the assessments and getting into the properties to do that, to see what we have and what we are dealing with along there within the facilities, the abatement and the remediation, removal of site utilities. So all of these facilities have water, sewer, electrical hooked up to them, and they have to be cleared as well. And so there will be some minor site work that will be done, and likewise, if we find anything within the ground, we will clear that as well and make the site safe. That is followed by other clearing the site improvements, any of the facilities, and then the vegetation, and then grading and stabilizing the soil to make sure that any runoff that happens afterwards is contained there on the site. And why is the need for the early site work there along Brighton Boulevard? As you can see here, our existing right-of-way, which is shown on the far right side, may be a little tough to see. The existing right-of-way is about 60 feet wide. And so what we're doing is expanding onto essentially the more of the property where National Western is. We're expanding that to 101-foot new right-of-way. And we are expanding everything to the west side. So we're preserving everything along the property lines on the east side, where the neighborhoods are, and expanding into the National Western Center site. So the need for that will improve the vehicular operations there, as well as adding bike lanes and additional pedestrian ways along that western side and the eastern side. And so what we're doing is really to make sure that we have all of that work that is cleared, so that once the construction starts after the stock show, a separate project, a separate contractor. So I'm sure you will appreciate what we're trying to do is clear the path, so that we don't hold up that contractor that's got the improvements to do the Brighton Boulevard improvements. Okay? So before David really leads us through the process, is there anything else that I can answer for you just in terms of that? Yes?
Maybe this is outside your scope, but does anybody know when the station stop for the North Metro is planned to open, and when that line is going to be operational? We were told of 2018, but do you know when they'll be opening that and that line will be running, or does anyone know?
Gretchen,
well,
I'm reaching for the microphone without an answer, because we have heard that there may be some changes coming from RTD, but that's something that we need to hear from them. We haven't gotten any official notice on a date change, but that's something that we're tracking, because we really want to time all of the improvements we're doing to the opening of that station and platform. So hopefully we can come back with something on that.
Any other questions?
Anything else? And then I'll turn it over to David, and David can take you through. And then we'll have a period where we'll have questions at the end as well.
All right, so like Jeff said, I'm going to take you guys through the process so you know what to expect and what's going on. For the city acquires property, we perform a phase 1 assessment. So that's we bring an environmental consultant to perform background research. Louder? Gotcha. Perform background research, any potential hazards that could be on the property. Once we acquire the property, we then board it up to secure it, and then we bring an environmental consultant to perform more extensive environmental tests. We do all material testing to see if there's any hazards that we need to take care of in the abatement phase. We also have the environmental consultant prepare a plan for abatement and also a scope of work. We use that to bid to our on-call environmental contractors. So we bid out to environmental contractors for the abatement portion. During that, they go through the removal and disposal of any environmental hazards. This could be anything from asbestos-containing material all the way to standard light bulbs. Anything that poses any type of environmental hazard, they take care of during this step. During this, also ongoing testing and monitoring throughout the entire phase by a third-party consultant that's separate from that environmental contractor. Once everything is safe, we have our clearance from the Colorado Department of Health. We then move into the removal of improvements. During that, we catalog and salvage any items of value. Those could be historical value or donation value. We have our intern, Peter Burke, in the back, who's actually working on a lot of that legwork to see if some of these items can be donated to have further good. We have a site-wide goal of 90% diversion, so we're trying to get as much stuff either repurposed, recycled, or just reused in general. And then salvaging that and this early site work, giving us more time, helps with that effort. Again, through the removal improvements, that third-party environmental consultant continues to do their ongoing monitoring and testing. They'll have dust monitoring, make sure nothing's kicked up, and then as we get into the soil to do the foundations of these structures, they'll also test soils to make sure there's no contaminants that we're unaware of. And get continuous monitoring, and we won't leave the site until it's safe. The very last part is the leave behind activities. So once the improvements are removed, we backfill, they'll compact the site, and then leave some treatment that secures the site. So there's no dust problems, there's no runoff issues. This treatment can vary, depends on the sites. It could be sod, it could be mulch. In some areas it could be recycled asphalt. A durable surface allows us to do construction activities along Brighton Boulevard later on without kicking up a lot of dust and you cause a nuisance to our neighbors. So like Jeff said, the reason for this early site work is the work that's going along Brighton Boulevard, this development where we're expanding 40 feet towards the west. As you can see, it's the picture on the right. That's a close-in zoom of 47th, 48th, Brighton to Baldwin, those properties in that area. And you can see that yellow layover, that expansion of Brighton Boulevard is going to run right over some of those properties along Brighton Boulevard, 4701 all the way up to 4747. So our job is to try to get the whole site ready for that Brighton development to come through. The other areas, or so the other properties in that similar area, will also need to be prepared for the eventual works that happen on the infrastructure for the new arena and also the expo hall in the future. All of these alleys, all these roads have old infrastructure underneath them. I mean, gas lines, wastewater, the sanitary, and also the Denver water. So all this stuff's going to be replaced with these large new facilities. And so we'll need to get all of this area prepped for that work. That infrastructure work will happen in later phases, it won't be concurrent with the Brighton work. So the safety measures that we have in place, our number one priority at all our staff meetings, anything we do is safety. We make sure the health and well-being of all citizens and the workers on site is maintained. With any work like this, there's federal, there's state, and there's city regulations. On top of that, we have our own material management plans that are going to be in place and also a site-wide safety plan. And then with each project, we're going to have a project-specific abatement and demolition plan that will have even more safeguards depending on what's on that site. There'll be dust mitigation and monitoring, like I said earlier. And again, we have third-party contractors or consultants who will be overseeing this to make sure that the environmental regulations are being followed. And then additional measures, not so much for safety, more for nuisance reduction. We will have site fencing, we will have limited working hours. There will be a hotline if you guys have any issues. And also we will have continuous communication through these meetings, through flyers that are going to go out to the community, and also through our website to keep you guys updated. Now, all of these safety measures are pretty much worthless without oversight, without someone enforcing them. And so with each phase, we have multiple levels of project oversight. In the environmental phase, it will primarily be Department of Environmental Health, it will be the NWC-CAC office, and also Public Works. As we get more into the abatement phase, we bring in more parties. We have the Department of Environmental Health. Again, we have our environmental monitoring consultants, and then DEA, Public Works, and NWC-CAC again. When we get into the demolition or the removal improvements and that leave behind process, we bring in a huge multitude of players who are each expecting their own portion of the project. So many eyes at all times on top of the ones we already had in the previous phases. So what are the benefits of this work? Most of these Jeff had already stated. First one, again, first priority is safety. We have these vacant buildings out here along Brighton and Baldwin. They attract unwanted attention. They're also a safety hazard for kids, for animals who might be in the area and playing around. So we want to try to get those secured as quickly as possible. Also, with this extended schedule, we take more time with our environmental evaluations, and we be more thoughtful in our cleanup to make sure there's nothing left behind. As we get into our schedule, doing this early work, just to make sure that Brighton is done on time and doesn't interfere with the stock show in 2018, or 2019, I should say. And then again, the Brighton Boulevard improvements, we're going to have multimodal, there will be amenities, better water quality than we have now. All the improvements, we need to clear the way to make room for those, as well as improvements that are going to happen in later phases on the NWC-CAC campus. Now, do you have any questions? I'll open up to you guys now. If you have environmental questions specifically, we do have Pete Case to help us out with that. As far as program alignment, probably Jeff, and then for Public Works, specific questions, processes, I'll probably be the person on that.
Raise my hand, you can call me.
Microphone?
It's right there. You have a question, Armando?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Raise my hand, you can call me.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and this is open to anybody who wants to address this. You laid out this plan, which is cool, don't get me wrong. But I'd like to see your plan include, some basic fundamental concepts, which to me are environmental sustainability, modernization, preservation, and how does this plan go into perpetuity, forever? So the residents of this neighborhood, GES, can go on and continue. Sir, you guys do all this construction, your cake's done. What's after that? I mean, and how are you going to be working with CIF, the Community Investment Fund, to put an environmental plan that goes on in perpetuity that protects the residents, not only the residents, but everybody that enjoys these facilities all over the world? So if you can comment on that, I appreciate it.
Can I take that one?
Go ahead.
So I think this deserves a much longer conversation, right, because we're talking about the entire campus. But one of the things that our team has been able to work on is we're going to look at this campus and we're going to translate the principles that you saw in the master plan that the parties have carried forward, including the concept of regeneration, into the capital build. These guys are ahead of that conversation just because they have to get the site cleared for Brighton. And they already have incorporated some of those principles, so the 90% diversion so that we're not just creating waste from the site. They've got water quality treatment on the segment of Brighton that really mirrors what's happening on the second segment. So it's essentially, if you have liked what you've seen in the planning and the process that's gone through in the southern part of Brighton, this continues it up through there. And with a different theme, obviously, because we're adjacent to the campus. But a lot of those principles, they're just carrying forward early, but you'll see them applied to the entire campus as we go through. And we'll have metrics, I'm learning new terms here, key performance indicators, KPIs, specific to environmental and specific to keeping the historic integrity of the campus too. And we actually have something that we are playing around with that's be pioneering and try to break some new ground in how we work on this campus adjacent to community. So I think you'll see that coming. I'm pretty proud of this team because they've been able to incorporate some of that ahead of time into this first active construction project. So.
And thank you, Gretchen. My point was that I believe as a resident, and not only for City and County and all over the world, that we need an environmental plan that goes into perpetuity here that's going to impact not only GES, but it involves the other aspects of what's currently happening here, such as CIF. And I totally agree, these are the basic fundamental concepts, but I just want to put that out there to keep this on the radar. And as we move forward through all this developmental process and the environmental concerns that come up, that we need a plan. Sure, this is planned, but what happens after this? What's the environmental plan that goes into perpetuity? That's what I'm looking for. And again, I appreciate your comments and to stimulate some thought. That's all I was trying to do.
No, thank you.
Again, thank you.
Anyone else? Great, thank you very much. We're going to move on now to an introduction to the placemaking process with Jay Rinkins. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Did it not come up? There we go.
All right. Well, thank you all for your time again this month. Saw you all last month. And if you recall, Eric Anderson went over our scope of work in relatively good detail. And I gave you an overview sort of our team and our approach. And we just received our notice to proceed last week. And so we're in the kind of mobilization phase right now, getting ramped up rather quickly. But we thought it would be a good opportunity to come and speak to you a bit about sort of a little more detail about sort of what we see placemaking being. Obviously there's the engineering components, there's the market study that we're doing or embarking upon here in short order. There's aspects of the cultural plan, the historical analysis. But what does that mean as far as the placemaking as we move forward throughout the process? So I have a quick presentation, and then actually I just wanted to kind of facilitate a conversation with you about sort of what does the placemaking mean moving forward. And I think you'll understand how that gets framed up. So you saw this slide and the next slide the last time I spoke about a month ago. And it's one of these words, like when we were just talking about sustainability, regeneration, they've become a bit loaded. Not that they aren't absolutely necessary and important to the process, but placemaking I think is thrown around a lot like a lot of these other terms right now. So we defined it for you last time as place, being people, land, architecture, context, and environment. That's nice, it kind of fits the acronym, right, place. But what are we really talking about? And, I was talking with the rest of our team, and ultimately what we sort of came around to was that it's really about storytelling. Can you go back for 2 seconds? Yeah.
Oh. It's posted already. This presentation is already posted in case anyone wants to go to NWC-CAC. Yeah, okay then.
Make it viral, that'll be fantastic. But ultimately what it comes down to is storytelling. And I think there's a lot of different ways that you can interpret storytelling as well. And so there's obviously a rich history of this place, of the events that have happened here. And that's broader than just obviously the campus. That goes for the neighborhoods, good and bad, honestly. What has happened to the neighborhood, through the neighborhood, and I think we want to really use this opportunity to tell that story. And how might we do that? This kind of ties it back to our scope of work, what we're sort of charged with doing. So there's aspects of refining the site plan, the program of the site, and are there opportunities for iconic features? Are there ways to actually tell the story through this site about the history of Colorado, the landscape, the history of this place, agriculture, architectural design and detail, landscape design? Can we actually sort of turn things inside down and celebrate, create teachable moments throughout the campus? CSU provides one great avenue for that, and I think the rest of the campus can do the same. Materiality. Is it reflecting the history of this place, the future of this place? Exposure of the key systems and back of house, that's one of the things that makes the stock show so fantastic. Can we learn from that and actually start to implement that through all the different programmatic elements and the design? Traditional and creative educational and interpretive elements, public art, signage and wayfinding, or wayfaring, as was mentioned earlier.
That's the incorrect term. I think that has to do with being on the ocean.
So this is just a couple of examples here of different ways that this has been interpreted at various scales. So this is the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena. Their master planning, their design, their development has really been driven by these historical character zones or contexts. And so this is part of what we're charged with, is figuring out, yes, the campus is a campus, it's a place, but are there subsets of that? Are there sub-districts, character areas, as was called out in the master plan? So in the California Institute of Technology example, that was about the historic campus, it was about future campus, a technology element, and a recreational element. The Underwood Family Sonoran Landscape Laboratory in Tucson, Arizona, it really uses the design to speak to what it is. It's sort of building on a brand, and it's sort of what is that message, right? So the fantastic thing is that we have a branding effort that's going on currently. And so how do we start to express that through the build form, through the place, and make sure that we're staying on message with every single aspect of what we do. So this is in fact a living laboratory, a learning environment for students, for the community, where it's really, there's opportunities, informal and formally, to experience that place and learn about the past, the present, and the future. With that, we want to make sure that we're creating great spaces, right? Placemaking is about space creation or place creation. And so the buildings are really important, but what about all the spaces in between? And so this is actually from the University of Wyoming, dissecting the historical campus on the west portion and understanding the one on the far left, the pasture, that's Crisis Pasture, named for one of the past presidents. There's a formal parking lot converted to a great organizing natural space. But then also thinking about that hierarchy of smaller main quads, in this case, minor quads, entry courts, and front lawns. To ultimately create a beautiful campus that's stitched together and really seamless. So as we think back on sort of the history of this place, what are those key elements of the story that we want to tell? There's going to be historic structures that help with that, of course. There's historic materials that can be reused. But as we think about, even more broadly, the state of Colorado, the materials that we see in the natural landscape, some of the program elements that have been historic to this site for a long time. How does that express the materials we use, which could then translate to design guidelines, which is part of our scope. The initial design and concepts for some of those interstitial spaces, the public spaces and plazas. Through public art, obviously some of these are a little more interpretive and some others are not. But how do we begin to use public art throughout the campus, provide guidelines for that, work with arts and venues, with the community to express this place through our art. And then again, thinking more broadly than the campus, there's a rich story of these communities, of these neighborhoods, Globeville, Leary, Swansea. And how do we begin to tell that story and not only stitch together the community, physically with trails and bikeways and new bridges across the river, but also stitch that story into what we're creating here on the campus. That can be done through signage and wayfinding. It can be done through a lot of different aspects of interpretive features that are more sort of explicit, overt ways to tell that story, but there's also ways to sort of weave that in. And we got to thinking when we were, kind of putting this slide together about, the signage and wayfinding, and it's a really interesting site in that people experience it at all different scales and all different speeds, right? So we need to make sure that people experience this place and really have a meaningful, sort of textured, rich experience moving at 2-3 miles per hour. And then there's those folks might be moving through at 20, 25, 30 miles per hour. And then we have to accommodate the person who's going by at 70 miles per hour, potentially, right? and sort of the visibility and the expression of our brand, of our market, of our message at those different speeds. Similar to the scaling of sort of the experience of the place is making sure that it works, not just when we have this place full and bustling for the 16 days in January, but those other times of year. So how do we make sure that it works for different types of events, for the 365-day-a-year users? So whether it's a large event that might be programmed, maybe it's similar to last weekend. I was here for the fair, a great event. But there was some interesting things that were happening where it wasn't quite filling the space. So how do we make sure that it works really well when we are not maximizing every square inch? And then also when it is packed, right, in January for our pinnacle event. And then the last couple slides here, I focused a lot on sort of the history, the past, and the present. But how do we integrate the future into this and make sure that it doesn't detract from that brand, from that message? And it really helps to tell the story of what we're becoming as well, not just as a campus, but also as our neighborhoods and the larger community. How is that interpreted in different ways? What is additive to the overall program? That's a major piece of what we're looking at right now. There's obviously the core elements of what have historically been on the campus and are today. But what can get added and is really synergistic or additive to that rather than detracting from the message. So that was a quick presentation. What I wanted to do with the remaining time I have, which I believe is at least about 10-15 minutes, and we don't have to fill the entire time obviously, but I wanted to turn it over to you all as a committee to hear a little bit about what are those important stories that we want to tell, past, present, and future. And it's not that you need to elaborate and tell us an entire story at this point. It may be something that you want us to investigate, whether it's through the cultural planning, looking at historic structures, the history of the neighborhood. We're digging into documents, oral histories, all the different things, but we're going to start a really important listening process, and we want to start that with you. So any thoughts on the stories that should be expressed beyond what were in the presentation?
Drew?
Jay, I don't really have anything to answer your question, and I think there's probably better people to help you out with that. But is there, what is the process whereby I think you meet in sort of side groups, sort of working groups? I think Liz or Maria, we've talked about that with this placemaking phase. Yeah. Where, at certain stages, you meet, and we did this with the master plan, right. And I think it was really a lot of fun, and people got really engaged and energized in it, and felt a sense of ownership from it, and I think that's really essential.
Yeah. So we are in fact scoped to do that. We haven't scheduled that yet. We're working on the schedule right now with Eric Schaffer in the back, Eric Anderson, other folks with the National Western in their office, but we will definitely be engaging you in that way as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't just be limited to these.
Before it gets too far, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
Other comments? Wow. Susan.
Hi, Jay. I'm Susan from W. Ortega's office. I was just noticing, and I know it's part of your screen, but when you were showing the slide with the different images, the waters, the cows, what I don't see is any part of the story of Colorado before the 1800s. I don't see any references to the earlier history and the Spanish influence or the Indians and Mason Bird influence. And I think you might want to consider some of that in your listening also.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Anyone else?
Oh, come on. Hey, don't disappoint us. Right?
First bit.
Come on, Betty.
Story to tell. I got lots of stories to tell. I've been here a long time, and there's been some great things happen here. And anything that happened is making this richer place to live. I like that story.
AE has her own.
AE?
That was kind of perfect, because I was going to say, I wondered if we could assign somebody immediately to do some extensive oral histories with people like Betty Cram, and I know that the stock show has some people who have been working there for, 40 years, some of them, and they have predecessors, John Zapian, other people in this room.
Dave Oletsky.
Dave Oletsky. There's a lot of people, many people, and I think we really need to not go to just the usual suspects too. I think there's a lot of hardworking people that never have been to any of these meetings that have, I mean, I don't think that, I know that. There's people in this room whose families have been here for 3 generations that could probably introduce people. Me, I'm not there. I mean, I know because I am fortunate to cross paths, but I would really say let's get on that and have oral history all over the place, and benches that say Betty Cram sat here, carved in. And then the other thing I wanted to build on what Susan was saying, because I was sitting here thinking, I wish, and have been for some time and not knowing where it fits, I wish there was a way where we could have a place where people could sit that was the original ecology, like 300 years ago, whenever the indigenous people were at the river. And there's really good research. There's some people, I don't know, I can't remember, there's people down at DU that have done some incredible research on the original indigenous tribes. And and I think part of what we'll see in that as we study the agriculture is what carries forward, and maybe people won't have as much hubris about technology as a solution. There's some pretty amazing things. But anyway, so oral history, and one last thing, I don't know if there's artifacts that are being saved. I mentioned this and people say, oh yeah, it's on, but as we're deconstructing what's there was some conversation about saving artifacts, maybe from switching stations from, I don't know, historic things that would normally be discarded that could become public art and could become part of it. So, History Colorado, that kind of thing.
Thank you. Great.
Anyone else? Last call. Okay. We're going to move, Armando had something for community reports and comments.
Yeah. I just wanted to say thank you to all group for Mike. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to, and this is, I think this is a fine example of the CAC or NDCC doing the work that it's supposed to be doing, and I think I just want to applaud certain individuals here, and then also invite them for the photo op over at Garden Place. Garden Place was awarded a $5,000 scholarship, which isn't very much money, as you know. But they're only one out of 5 schools in the country. They got some resources to help work with the wind turbine. And Maria, Albus, Tina from CSU, Gretchen, just to point out a few key individuals that have been phenomenally instrumental. As I'm not sure if anybody knows, but that wind turbine is the only turbine in the world that's at an elementary school. And the NDCC can step and pat itself in the back that the people in here collectively have put that school on the map, and more importantly, the work efforts that are being demonstrated here are worldly. So everything that that's being planned, being discussed here, I just applaud everybody, and this is just a fine example of what the NDCC is all about, and I'm really proud to invite everyone on August 17th for a photo op and bring your best face. Thank you.
Anyone else with comments?
Armando, what time on the 17th?
I'll get you an email. I have to find out from T-Mobile when they want everybody there. But thank you.
Our distinguished council president, Albus Brooks.
I want to highlight some community folks. Folks may not be aware, but there was a retail marijuana store located at applying for a license at 4837 Washington. And I got to tell you, I haven't been more disappointed in excise and license experience than I was that night. And I want to thank Nancy and Vern for representing the community. There was a bunch of folks who was in there. Councilwoman Ortega was there. She did a great job. Liz, I know you were there.
Ron
AE.
Rohr from National Western.
Ron,
Yep.
yep, from National Western. And they literally, and I'll go on record saying they embarrassed all of us and was very disrespectful to us, including the council people. And the hearing officer ruled in favor of the retail marijuana place. And so we pushed to get the hearing extended. We got the hearing extended. And then our excise and license director, Ashley Kilroy, reversed the decision. I don't know when that's ever happened on a retail marijuana store. And so we just got the ruling 2 days ago. And so just another example of when community organizes and gets behind each other, what can happen. So hats off to everybody who attended. And some folks were there till 1 a.m., 12 a.m. What, Nancy, how late?
Oh, well,
1:30, it was 1:30.
the first one was till what? 1:30. AE was there, Michael Staff stayed there for moral support. And what I want to say is it was very gratifying to see the community, the National Western Center representatives supported the community. We had UCAN, we had Cross Coalition, we had the Globeville Block Captains. In fact, one of the Globeville Block Captains got 87 people from Globeville to sign a petition forwarding it to Aldous saying we are against the marijuana store. So many people came together, and it couldn't have happened without that. So it was so gratifying to have that coalition of people coming together, that the community voice was heard because the hearing officer did rule against this community. And, one of the interesting statistics that I thought was that he dismissed. One was that there were 2 other marijuana businesses within 4 blocks of this one, and that did not constitute near to him. Also, that when you have a public hearing, there's the area of interest is 5 blocks from that location. Within those 5 blocks in Globeville, there are 11 marijuana location businesses, 17 licenses, okay? And out of the 62 designated neighborhoods in Denver, there are 50 entire neighborhoods that have less marijuana businesses than that 5-block area. So that did not make an impression on him. Nor did the community voice, so many people. But it was ruled that they did not prove that there was a need, and that the community spoke up loudly against that. Now, they still have a medical marijuana license, and but we all know that the retail is where the businesses are, and they're going. So who knows how long they'll be there? And they may have enough, and they may decide to appeal it. So anyway, that was very gratifying. So and we learned a lot in case it happens again.
Yeah.
Hey, Nancy, while you're up, is there a window where they have to file in district court before that, or do you know?
I don't know how much time they have.
Okay. That'd be interesting to know, so we can.
Yeah. But But again, it's the city and county Denver that has to fight it, and our tax dollars going through that instead of the neighborhood citizens coming up with that. So, thank you.
Great.
Anyone else before we adjourn?
No, we need to go back to a date,
Picking a
please.
What are you picking? The framework.
The framework agreement. So now that we're starting, keep our fingers crossed that we have close to a framework agreement, ready to go forward to the 4th floor. We need to come brief, obviously, and have you all understand what's been in there. It's still not done, but we're shooting for, hopefully, that will be done by next week. So we would like for you all to look at the week of the 7th of August, to see what would be a good day for us to, and it won't be the only time we'll talk about it, but we need to kick it off.
During the day or at night?
You tell us, we'll do whatever. My sense is that you'll probably get more attendance if it's toward the end of the day, right?
Well, I think Monday is city council, that's the go-bond hearing.
Right, that's a
Yeah.
go-bond hearing, so we can't do that.
Tuesday, there's a Heron Pond Steering Committee meeting, and I know Armando's been going, and
Yeah.
I've been going. And
What time is that,
those are
5:30?
5:30
Yeah.
to 7. I kind of feel those 2 nights should maybe be rolled out.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we won't do it on Monday night because it's city council.
And I don't
Thursday, the 10th, I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah, well,
At this point, we throw out any dates.
9 or 10 would probably, let's see, 9.
I mean, is there anybody here? Erica, I kind of look to you as a person that maybe knows more about, well, who's doing the calendar that's online? Who does the NWC-CAC calendar now? I don't know.
I have access to it, unfortunately.
I don't remember what else.
Tim, do you know if you know of any NDCC issues, the 9th or the 10th?
Not the 9th or the 10th, I was just looking above.
Oh, I'm sorry for,
Yeah.
Excuse me.
you're so old now, I just kind of faded
My voice
away.
is frail.
No, I don't expect you to have any recall, you know? I mean, I'm fine for Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
I think we gotta stay away from Friday. I
Yeah.
think we're gonna get
Depending
really
on
low
what kind of
attendance.
refreshments we have, you know, there are
That's
some
true.
options.
We could have beers afterwards or something, right?
And, okay,
Kager,
so,
let's do a Kager and talk
want to
about
do
it.
Wednesday, in case we have to do something again on Thursday, or do you want to stick with
So what,
Thursday?
do you guys want to do Wednesday or do you want to stick with Thursday?
Either one is fine with me.
Thursday? Thursday?
Thursday,
Going once?
right.
Going twice?
Thursday,
That's all right.
Who won't be?
But
Maybe we can get Crystal.
just a staff person, yeah.
A lawyer. We've been over-lawyered.
August 10.
Lots of lawyers on
So
this
what time do you want to
transaction.
do it? Should we do it at 5:30, at 6? 5:30?
5:30.
5:30?
5:30, Thursday, August 10th.
Yep. Do you want to do it here, or do we want to pick a
I think we're at
alternate
Paul,
location?
do you know if we have
Parking
any?
here is so easy.
Yeah,
Parking here
I think
is
we ought to
so
do it
easy,
here.
you're right.
We could bring some smaller fans. We've got a small fan.
Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
You'll have to check, can you access Jocelyn's schedule? I want to make sure that, I think all 3 equity partners have to be here.
So Kelly's in Florida on a baseball trip that week.
Are you here?
I am, and I'll be here.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so August 10th, going once, twice, 3 times. Maybe we'll have beers afterwards, right?
There we go.
Yeah, okay. You're right.
Maybe we schedule-
You're right.
maybe
We'll
we
do some.
schedule Blue Mountain.
You think she's okay? You think it can be moved? Okay, thank you. Yeah, let's say 5:30.
Okay.
And it's here?
Yep, I'll send this
Okay.
all out.
And we'll at least try to give you a summary or something ahead of time, is what we're working on. So
Yeah, it
we're,
just
it's a work in
depends on-
progress.
Yeah.
So to be able to do that, but at least we've got a date set, we can go from there.
What we'll do on that day is be able to look at the sections of what's being drafted, and we'll have a summary with it so that you can, you're going to need a guide to the document, and you can walk through that. And you're probably going to want to look at it a couple of times, and we can think about other ways to be available, just to tie the pieces together. Albus, we talked about this before you got here, just so that you know this is coming back to it, and if we can grab a couple of minutes after this, I can.
I know all about it.
All right, I know you do. Okay.
I just would tell people to pack a lunch.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to, it's a lot of pages, so,
Did you say 5:30?
yeah, we did say 5:30.
Well, then maybe we need margaritas instead of beer.
There you go. There you go.
I'll bring the tequila.
Okay, there we go.
So, all right, okay. Anything else? Any public comments? Anybody? Okay.
Just one quick announcement.
Oh, yes.
We're going to be launching our mobile clinical unit in August, and primarily focused on Garden Place and Swansea Elementary. providing basic screening, vaccinations, and also preventative dental. So that'll start in August. We're going to, as far as Swansea is concerned, we have to navigate the construction that's going on there in terms of where we're going to place our mobile unit. But
That's great. Anybody else? Any comments?
Well, I just want to remind people that the Natural Grocer grand opening is today, and it's open until at least 9 o'clock, 9:15 if you want to drop by.
Oh, nice.
If they're still giving out a lot of samples and you're hungry, there's enough, you'll probably feel like you had a meal.
There you go.
Thank you.
See what you think.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else? Anything for the good of the order? We are hereby adjourned. See y'all next.